Hello, my name is Dr. Swanee J., Health Commissioner for Brookline Department of Public Health. With the recent passing of recreational marijuana and the opening of marijuana stores, it becomes increasingly imperative that we prepare and reduce the opportunities of marijuana being available to our youth. Also, recent studies have shown the impact of marijuana usage on teens' brain development decreases their ability and motor skills to be able to function in normal life. In the video that you're about to see, new information, opportunities to learn, and spread the word, and also reduce the opportunities for the youth to be able to have access to marijuana.
Everyone knows that marijuana laws have changed drastically in the past couple years, but what exactly does the law say as it stands? Marijuana is now legal for anyone aged 21 and above in Massachusetts. Retail marijuana will soon be available in Brookline. However, it is illegal to consume marijuana in public, and if you are under 21, using marijuana is a civil offense, which means that you'd be fined a penalty of $100. Since the new laws, we have already seen an increase in marijuana usage. In 2018, the Massachusetts Department of Public Health found that 50% of Massachusetts residents aged 18 to 25 consumed cannabis in the past 30 days. Marijuana is becoming legalized in much of the country, leading kids to think it's a safer drug since it's acceptable for adults to consume. People think that it's safer than alcohol and it's okay to drive under the influence of marijuana. Examples like this prove that preconceptions towards marijuana are rapidly changing.
The cannabis flower comes from the cannabis plant. The leaves of the plant are ground up and rolled into joints and then smoked. Smoking joints is the most common way to consume marijuana. The high that one receives from smoking joints can last up to a couple of hours. The concentration of THC in the cannabis flowers is relatively low compared to other methods of weed consumption.
An edible is any product that contains THC. Some of the most common edibles are brownies and cookies, but edibles can come in many different products including chocolate, lollipops, and cake. Generally, when creating edibles, you break down the leaf and put it within the product you're cooking and then cook it. When you take a hit of a joint, bong, or pipe, you feel the high almost immediately, and it typically never lasts much longer than 2 hours. With edibles, many individuals have eaten too much because they don't realize that it can take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to feel something. This can lead to anxiety attacks, paranoia, and hallucinations. So, why do people use edibles? What makes it so attractive? Well, for one thing, the high you experience is much more intense as you are consuming the weed rather than just smoking it. This causes your high to last around 4 to 12 hours. In addition, some people prefer not to smoke and find edibles as an easier source of consumption.
One major product that's seen a major spike in use in the past few years is vaporizable oils. The most popular types of oils usually contain nicotine or marijuana extracts, like THC or CBD. Oils with nicotine are almost always vaped, but cannabis oils can either be vaped or put into edibles. Oils for vaping generally come in small cartridges, which can then be put into a vape or dab pen. These vapes are almost always small and indiscreet. One of the most popular vapes in the country is the Juul, which looks like a small flash drive.
Concentrates are alternative products of marijuana that are extracted from the plant. Two of the most common concentrates are keef and hash oil. These concentrates are commonly used in devices called dab pens and dab rigs. These devices vaporize the concentrate so the product can be inhaled. A dab pen looks and operates like a vape pen or an e-cigarette, while a dab rig looks and operates like a bong. Chemical processes are used to extract extremely high percentages of THC from the plant, so these products are very potent. When you use a concentrate product, you can get high much faster and the high can be much stronger. For example, taking 2 hits of a dab pen is much easier than taking the time to roll a joint and smoke the whole thing. A joint has 15–25% THC, while a dab pen has 60%. Since you are smoking less, concentrates are also cheaper and more efficient for kids to smoke. Also, when you vaporize these concentrates, the smell does not linger in the environment, and so users can be more discreet.
Keef is the oldest marijuana concentrate. Origins of keef date back to the 11th century in East Asia, where it was first collected by rubbing marijuana flowers together. This process makes the trichomes, or tiny hair-like structures, fall out the flower. These trichomes have an extremely high concentration of THC. These days, keef is often collected in marijuana flower grinders. Most grinders have compartments that collect keef that falls to the bottom of the grinder. Keef can be readily consumed by rolling it into a joint. Alternatively, it can be packed into a dab rig. One of the attractions to smokers is that keef produces an intense high. Another common concentrate is hash oil. Hash oil is a sticky oil or wax that can be crumbly or glassy in texture. Hash oil is an extremely potent concentrate that is commonly vaporized in dab pens or dab rigs.
My name is Mary Minot, and I'm a social worker here at Brookline High School and also with the Brookline Public Health Department. And I have counseled hundreds of students over the years who've struggled with their use of marijuana. And with legalization, marijuana has become more mainstream, and it's likely that some adults can use marijuana in moderation without too much harm physically, psychologically. But we do know that it can be harmful to the developing brain of teens and preteens. And there are certain students who, over the years I've seen, who are at higher risk for developing marijuana dependence and serious consequences. For instance, some students who have ADD symptoms have reported that it helps them concentrate. What they don't realize is that their marijuana use can actually exacerbate ADD symptoms, including impairments in executive functioning, working memory, and the ability to focus and stay on task. Adolescents who struggle with depression may also be more susceptible to developing marijuana addiction. Though some students report that it does provide them some immediate relief in the short term, it becomes less effective and they develop a tolerance for THC. They have to increase the amount they use to get the same effect, leading to the development of dependency. And they end up using marijuana just to regulate their moods. When they try to cut down, they experience sleep disturbances, mood dysregulation, irritability, headaches, difficulty concentrating and focusing, which leads them back into using again. It becomes like a vicious cycle, with heavy marijuana use interfering with their ability to complete schoolwork. They're not so successful in school. They drop out of their recreational activities, cutting classes, absenteeism, and all of this significantly contributes to their low self-esteem and depression. Third group of students who are susceptible to developing marijuana dependence are youth who are less socially adept, and they use marijuana to develop friendships and socialize with other youth. For this group, it's how they socialize with each other, it's how they bond. It becomes an important part of their friendship culture. Because their small circle of friends may also be using heavily, it just seems like the norm. Unfortunately, this interferes with the development of their age-normative social skills. They get left behind. We also know that the younger a person starts using marijuana or alcohol, the more likely it is that they will go on to develop a substance use disorder. On the other hand, it does seem that there really are older teens and adults who can use marijuana occasionally as they socialize to relax and have fun with peers, just as teens and adults have done with alcohol over time, without it developing into a more serious dependency. There is some risk, though, that comes with mixing marijuana and alcohol together because they become more seriously impaired, particularly as a concern when people get behind the wheel. Heavy marijuana use has also been linked to a greater risk of developing mental illness, particularly with students with some susceptibility to this and family history.
Even with someone who does not suffer from mental health, marijuana can be quite habit-forming. So you start off and it's kind of enjoyable, but then you kind of start to rely on it and it becomes something more like a need and not a desire. And you don't enjoy it as much and you just have to do it because you need to do it to sleep, to socialize with friends, to even eat. If you can't eat before you get high. And then you start to develop social anxiety and you start to lose sight of other things that are important in your life, like sports that you might have liked before, like you like soccer, you like basketball, but you just start to get high too often and you don't really enjoy it anymore. And that can ultimately lead to anxiety and depression, and it becomes a cycle because to treat your anxiety and depression, you self-medicate, and you start to get high, and then it just keeps on going and you don't stop, and then before you know it, every day you have to get high. So either way, it's very easy to get hooked and not be able to stop.
To learn more information, you can look us up on www.epen.org.